Real-life conflict of interest coming into the White House. He is carrying a $300 million loan from Deutsche Bank, a bank which is under investigation by the Justice Department. I want to talk about that with CNN's senior legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin, Emily Jane Fox, staff writer with Vanity Fair, and economics reporter Patrick Gillespie from CNN Money. Emily, I want to start with you. Emily is becoming a regular on the show because you do these great pieces on this. You wrote a piece today, and it's about this Deutsche Bank issue, about Donald Trump. You said is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That could lead to this could lead to very thorny problems. This is a quote from you. You says, if the matters aren't settled by the time Trump is sworn in, which would seem unlikely, then the investigation into the bank that Trump has personally guaranteed outstanding loans will be overseen by a Trump-appointed attorney general. What can you tell us about that, Emily? Well, actually, tonight, Deutsche Bank settled some of its issues with the Justice Department, but there are still issues outstanding. So Donald Trump owes $300 million to Deutsche Bank for various properties, including the new Trump Hotel in D.C. Deutsche Bank happens to be under investigation by the Justice Department. So when Donald Trump appoints an attorney general, that attorney general will be tasked with dealing with those regulatory issues. It's not a good look for a president who owes $300 million to a bank is being, castigated by a political appointee. That is a major conflict of interest. Jeffrey Toobin?
It's a total conflict of interest. I mean, it's just so obvious. I mean, the Justice Department is either going to be tough with Deutsche Bank or they're going to be easy with Deutsche Bank. And there is no way for anyone to say, well, it has nothing to do with the $300 million loan. It may well have nothing to do with the $300 million loan, but the whole idea of conflict of interest is that the appearance of conflicting interests renders any decision suspect. That's why presidents have had, in the modern era, blind trust, so that their personal financial interest cannot be bound up with what the government does.
CNN Money has been writing about these conflict of interest as well. What has been the response from the Trump campaign? Have you gotten any from them regarding this?
They've said that they're going to do their best to avoid conflicts of interest, to really flesh out as much as they can, but we haven't really received those details yet.
Are they saying and doing what they're saying and doing different than, are they saying something
that they're doing we're not seeing a lot of doing. What is concerning is that we're seeing over and over with each new pick a new conflict of interest. You have Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary, who has investments in U.S. steel, and he could be putting tariffs on Chinese steel. That would be a big conflict of interest.
And Carl Icahn, who is the new regulatory czar, owns, among many other things, an oil refinery that's publicly traded. As soon as he was named head of regulations, the stock went up, because they thought, oh, the regulations are going to go away. Well, oil companies, oil refineries don't like environmental regulations. I mean, these are obvious and egregious conflicts.
What is it, meaning the country, what have we gotten ourselves into here? What's going on?
Well, I mean, I think, with at least some of the cabinet appointees, there are laws about what they must disclose and how they must deal with their conflicts. The president, and this is an important point to make, the president is not covered by these rules. So it's only a political problem for the president. It's not a legal problem.
But these things have to be taken care of before the things that he's got to be before the 20th. No? Not even his business, not even the business part of it?
I mean, under the law, he could have two desks in the Oval Office, one for president, the other for the Trump, Trump organization. I mean, legally, there is no requirement that he divest, but, it is a political problem when the whole world can see that he has all these business interests that are affected by what he does as president.
It raises so many questions about how he's going to deal, how diplomacy will deal with the administration, the business. Are foreign diplomats going to feel pressure to stay at the Trump Hotel in D.C.? Will companies feel that they need to, peddle interests with his Commerce Secretary, with his State Treasury pick, Rex Tillerson? He has major investments in Russia. Is that going to influence his decision making? Are these leaders going to affect? Are they going to use their new power to use that for decision making that will benefit the American people or deepen their own pockets?
Speaking of business interests, Corey Lewandowski, Donald Trump's original campaign manager, just set up shop as a Washington consultant. In other words, he put his relationship with Donald Trump up for sale. Lewandowski promises, and this is a quote from him, "I will not be a swamp creature But what can you, what else can you call him?
I mean, the drain the swamp has become sort of a joke. I mean, also when you think about how much Donald Trump criticized Hillary Clinton for the pay-to-play situation, that, people paid, they contributed to the Clinton Foundation and sought meetings with the State Department, which they didn't get. Now we have situations like Ms. McMahon, who gave millions of dollars to Donald Trump's foundation, getting appointed head of the Small Business Administration. We have other campaign contributors and big money people getting apparent rewards. I mean, it does seem like pay to play.
It's not really draining the swamp, is it? From just listening to our conversation, it sounds more like the Wizard of Oz, like what's going on behind the curtain.
A big cannonball off a diving board into the swamp, more than draining the swamp.
Simple as that. All right. More to come with this panel next. Don't go anywhere.